All right, folks, here we go. Wow, what a 24 hours this has been. We're going to give you the latest. We've been telling you the latest. I'm very happy with the amount of information that we have put out that has been accurate. Broke a lot of news on this story. Let everybody kind of file in. It's a lot to take in. It's a lot to take in. And I want to thank, I've heard from so many different people about our coverage. And listen, it's nothing perfect, but I'll put our coverage up against any other coverage on this particular story, which is terrible. I want to just double check. X is okay. We are live on Facebook. There I am. The boyfriend killer in court. Maybe if I vent a little bit. By the way, I had an early morning. There was a police raid this morning in Warwick that I still had to go to. We will be live tonight as well. I'm thinking it's 7:00. Again, because there's still so much to process on this. But and then we're going to play the arraignment. He was in court. Again, good afternoon, everybody. I want to thank yesterday. That was different, right? We tried something very different where I was anchored here. Yes, he is. And we'll talk about it. He was in court. It's very normal. It's actually very, the norm is that they plead not guilty. So I know there were a lot of clues here with this. Those of you who've been following the coverage, and a couple things, because we're really going to start officially at 106. Thank you, Chris. But just a couple of things. Even last night, let me just vent and then I can get it out of the way. And I know some people say, well, Juan, don't pay attention to them and blah, blah, and that type of thing. But I think we heard enough. Yes, Paul. Even last night, as I put out, they found her body. He was buried in the lawn. There were people messaging me. Is she alive? Is she alive? Is she dead? Is she really dead? Like, what do you like? I don't know how these people function. And again, I'm not gonna, if I just vent this out. Hi there, Paul. Oh yeah, it is crazy. But like, what do you think? Like, do you think she was hiding under the dirt? But is she really dead? Is she alive? They found her. Is she alive? Like, I don't know what to make of that. I know death is not easy. Every step of the way, when we started posting things, people kept second guessing. And every time we were right. We said it was, we were the first one. We broke in yesterday at this time. The police were there raiding his house. I will play some of the details from the arraignment. Last night, there they are on scene. Through my sources, I learned, number one, he confessed. That was proven true. People kept saying, how come he's not there? I said last night live, my sources tell me he drew a map. That's exactly what happened. As we were watching last night, they're there. My sources are telling me they found the body. The medical examiner is now en route. And I posted that. They found the body on the front lawn. The amount of pushback and criticism is just remarkable. Yeah, I don't know about that. I take exception to that. That is not true at all. I don't know who we is. That is not the case. Oh my God. Yes, I'll play it. Look at this. Now, why not say you were right that she was stabbed, as I posted this morning? Why not post that? Look at how, oh my goodness, is that important? I have it. It's in the arraignment. Listen, as we were watching, thank you, Bonnie. Well, the important thing is they got him there. Exactly, Ann Marshall. It is really something. I don't know what to make of that, but I'm also, this has been a good exercise for me that I get to see a lot of the comments. And I realize I'm actually tougher than some of our mods, the moderators. I will play it. Hi there, Donna. Yes. So I said, like, there was no reason to continue. I'd been on for hours. I learned that they found her. Now it sounds it wasn't that difficult to find, and they were sending in the medical examiner. Also, last night, this morning, I posted that she, he stabbed her to death. Thank you, Stacy. But they cannot. People cannot do 2 + 2 is 4. They can't. Look at this. What? Let me ask you, why do you people file in with questions? I want you to listen. Why not just listen? Are you capable of fucking listening? Do you think you need help? Why don't you fucking listen? Jesus. Short rope. There's no, you're on the verge. Listen, Mark, right, listen, you're on the verge of getting blocked by me. There's no death penalty in Massachusetts. So you can hope all you want. There's no death penalty in Massachusetts. So that's not happening. Thank you, Cindy. To be honest with you, oh my God. Yes. Stop. Don't enter with a question. Do not enter. That's a bad habit. This is not your house. I don't know how you were raised. You don't walk in with a question. I'm telling you right now. So, and we are going to start to phase it out a little bit. No, we're going to start in just 5 minutes. Thank you, Bassett. Again, last night, I believe he will be. Yes. By the way, as much as I am also an advocate, supporter, I should say, of the death penalty. Oh, good. Audio is great. Look at how with the Boston Marathon, I've kind of, I don't know what to make of it because of all the appeals that can happen. Like the Boston Marathon bomber, that's still going on. It's not that I'm against it, but I'm against, like, how much does it then cost with all the appeals as opposed to just life without parole, which I think he's going to get. I know, Madison, but that's just part of it. But we have to, we like to run it the way we run it. I'm not going to adapt to them. Oh my God, look at this. Another one enters with the question. Look at this. Stop entering with a question, Fatima. What about them? What type of news? Now, we're not live just yet, so I can still drop F-bombs. Any news? What type of news? Now, if you want to say, I'll allow. If someone thinks the grandparents, it is disgraceful. I like Richard Masterson watching. Thank you, Ashley. We have to get people to adapt. They bring their bad habits. And some people, it's terrible, but I'm not going to tolerate it. I'm not. Oh, my God, with the nut questions. Yes. You should be, the only comments we should be seeing are great coverage. You were right. They found but I had to block people that were putting obscene messages because I posted they found the body, buried her in the yard. Who would put an obscene message at me for that? Absolute insanity. All right, go easy with that. Thank you, Anastasia. Yes. We don't know. Let me see what this is. Okay. All right. We're going to start in just 3 minutes. I'm going to play the arraignment. The arraignment, now what I do find interesting is it was right out by the shed. A couple things about this. Yeah, that's right. We don't. It's ridiculous. I mean, last night, there shouldn't have been any. These people, where are you getting this from? And many of these people, let me just say this, because we do have 3 minutes before we officially start at 106. For those of you that watch, okay, listen, I'll say I'm more plugged in than a lot of these young reporters that just assigned to the story. Most of the time you see, when I'm on scene, I have the info way ahead of everybody else. But somebody, oh yeah, like you have it ahead of Channel 12. All the time. Thank you, Fatima. It's very sad. This whole scenario, I know people are asking me about there's an audio tape of them arguing. He said something. It's actually very sad. It's very sad. I don't feel bad for him, but it falls in line to what we had thought. I think there's so many things about this that are sad. From if you just go with statistics, it's the male, it's the father, it's the one involved. It's just sad how that comes in. That is true. That is true. Yes, thank you, Anastasia. Well, if you saw this morning, and then I get pushback on that. Now, folks, I'm not whining. I'm just like, there is, you would think, a limit to it. But we're not playing to that. We're not playing to that crowd. We don't. We play to a much larger audience. I took no joy in a lot of this stuff. But you deserve to know. And especially our subscribers get it first. But I did post last night that there it is. He stabbed her and buried her in his yard. I mean, look at that. Right there. And another one that he stabbed her and buried in the yard. That's what happened. People get angry. Don't post that. I posted this. Kylee located, buried in his yard. Rest in peace. The amount of criticism. The family, we're going to start. Good. We are going to begin. And again, it's very sad, the whole thing. But there are new details. But and we're going to stay on schedule. And for those that are watching right now, we're live on AM 1380, 99.9 FM. We're also live on YouTube. We're also live on our Facebook page, and we're live on X. If you're on YouTube, follow the page. If you're on Facebook, you can follow and share. I'm going to go a little bit past 2 o'clock today as well. So we started a little bit earlier. We're going to go extended. We'll also be live tonight. Commercial free, 7 o'clock, because we're still getting new details. But this portion of our program is brought to you by PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. Folks, stop in and see them. Family-run business. They're just terrific. Steve and Debbie and Junior and Byron and Lauren. And I just love it. And they have fresh vegetables. After something like this, we need to enjoy family. You need to enjoy life. This has been a lot. Stop in and see them at PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. They're a full-scale nursery. Stop in 3688 Quaker Lane in North Kingstown, and they are open 7 days a week. Now, I also want to thank our staff that puts together DePetro.com, because, starting last Wednesday, I was like, all right, that's it. We're going, everybody worked over the weekend. Most of what we put is a lot of video that we share, but we had a lot of details on the story for those that would follow. And it's all brought to you by the Cohasset Inn, 226 Cohasset Avenue, West Warwick. Lunch, dinner, drinks in the lounge. They're waiting for you at the Cohasset Inn. Now, for those of you that have watched the coverage, it did happen the Wednesday night. It happened after the argument. There was something that came out. I did not know that she texted someone saying, if anything happens, he did it. I didn't know that. But that could have been, and I'm going to play the arraignment right now. We knew, I was hearing he beat her, but then it turned into, no, it was more like a stabbing. And he did it. I don't take any, my God, it's so gory and horrible. It was outside by the shed. That's where they had been, behind the shed. That is where her phone last pinged. And he killed her. He stabbed her twice. I'm going to play it, but he stabbed her twice, apparently in the neck, and then once in the chest. I want to mention there is an audio tape of them fighting. And it sounds as though she's with a friend and she called him. Maybe he doesn't know he's on speaker, but he says to her, Greg Groom, the boyfriend, says to her, I want my life back. And, you know, as we have talked about this, and the more we learned about it, you know, last week, have you watched a lot of the coverage? And people are now going back, I'm told, and they're telling me, and they're watching a lot of the coverage of it. You know, I was saying that this was this was a new relationship. We learned this, and this was a lot where they suddenly met. He's obviously odd, but she also developmentally slow. Parents both deceased. They meet in February. I think she wanted him to be this prince love of her life. And instead, he's a 22-year-old guy who never had a girlfriend before, who didn't drive and lived with his grandparents. And the grandparents, you know, I don't know what to make of it. What is the point of having 26 acres and then apparently the house, they're like hoarders, like the whole family seems odd. Him and the brother live with the grandparents. The mother doesn't live there. But these things came together very, very quickly for these two, for anyone. They meet in February. She's graduating high school. She starts staying there. And then suddenly she's pregnant. Then he breaks up with her. But he says to her, I want my life back. You know, but I don't see him. You look at him. He doesn't seem like someone who was that normal to begin with. And the more those of you that followed our coverage of, you know, she called the mother of a friend in early July. Those of you that saw it and remember it, Mama Bear, what did they tell her? Go stay at Crossroads, which is insanity to me. I would imagine now the family, it would be very normal for her family, to feel guilty. But I want to mention, there's no way you would know. It'd be one thing they broke up. It'd be another thing if he even hit her or he was rude to her. But there's no way you know he's going to kill her, other than there had been allegations of domestic violence, actually, as I think of it. There had been. We had the friend on, right, who did, to be honest with you, Kylee, you know, she had bruises in April. What I find, the gall of this guy, went to the police station yesterday without an attorney. He obviously doesn't watch our segment with attorney Stephanie Murphy, who would say never talk to the police without an attorney. No attorney. They noticed, as I had predicted, when they did the sweep of the property, they noticed that some of the brush didn't look right behind the shed. So he stabbed her 3 times, twice in the neck. Knife even broke off in her chest. Oh, it's so terrible. He began digging, put brush over her, and then, as we had thought, Thursday, finished it. When he called the police on Friday, he felt like, I'm just going to say she left and they're not even going to look here. But he didn't drive. And remember, you know, Lieutenant Danny Gannon has always said, folks, when we follow these cases, they go where they know. And I said that to someone and they didn't understand because they thought I was referring to her. I'm talking about the criminal. They go where they know. This is a girl, apparently, mindset, maturity of, like, from what I understand, equivalent, akin to like a 13-year-old or a 12-year-old. Not independent in any way. No money, no credit card. Aunt and uncle, or at least aunt in Attleboro. You know, it becomes a problem, though, when people turn 18. Because when they turn 18, I'm dealing with another family right now, and their daughter's 23. And they can't get any help because every time they're trying to get help for her, she has a drug problem. The police say, well, you know, she's an adult now. So young Kylee was an adult and she liked staying over there. And suddenly he's 22, 18. I don't like the relationship age. I know some people say, well, I met my husband. I know, but if you go to college and you're graduating from college at age 22, if you go to college, you're not dating. If you graduate from college, you're not dating a high school senior or a freshman in college. Not all the time. People always like to say, I met my husband. We've been, all right, we're not talking about that. So listen, he's odd. All right. He's odd. She wanted a boyfriend. She found him. But that statement, I want my life back. He viewed her as, this is how I'm going to get my life back. Well, I think what he was thinking was, this means life in prison, for crying out. I mean, this is so horrendous. But another statement he made, he mocked that the police were looking in the reservoir. See, there's something obviously very demented about this individual. So maybe he felt he had been taken advantage of by her. I don't know. Suddenly now he meets her. He finally gets to have sex with a real female. I heard it was the first time. But suddenly now there's going to be a child in the picture. But he mocked when the police were looking at in the reservoir. And then from what I understand, he made a comment like, oh yeah, as if I was drag her 26 miles because she's 6 feet tall and, as the Rehoboth police said, heavy set. I'm going to play the arraignment in just a moment. It's pretty brutal. It is, but there's nothing obscene about it, but it's adult oriented. You know, I also want to mention for people, just very quickly, and I know people mean well, but just to be very clear, my show, my content is not geared towards the family. It's not geared towards the people involved. It's for the general public. So some of you, stop telling me, don't post things the family can see it. The family should not be on my page. They were, as the course of we'd be broadcasting, and we would talk to Kitty. But just so we're clear, stop, if I can say this politely, stop telling me how to do content. Some guy posted this morning, don't post his picture. Listen, you worry about your page, I'll worry about my page. Don't post his picture. What are we hiding? Why? Let everybody look. This is what somebody looks like. Don't post his picture. The family could see it. This is not geared to the family. I feel terrible for the family. Folks, but this portion of the program is brought to you by Propane Plus, based in Rehoboth. Call them today, 508-252-3359. In Rhode Island, 401-885-4209. Now look at that. For all your heating and cooling, you can log on at propaneplus.com. Residential or commercial, heating or cooling, you can depend on Propane Plus. I admittedly, I don't understand. There's always people, they think that they're going to be the one giving, all right, that's enough. No more talking about this. Don't show his picture. No, don't even show that. What about the family? This is not geared for the family. If I had a family member who was missing and then brutally murdered, I wouldn't be going on social media. Said, take this down. I'm looking at that. No, they shouldn't be here. They're grieving. They're grieving. But we were right. We were right. Everything on DePietro.com is accurate, is right. They did find her. They go where they know, meaning, I said that to someone, and they said, well, she normally, I'm like, not her, not the victim, the criminal. They go where they know. This guy buries her near the shed, Do you understand? Her family was there on Sunday. She's buried there. He has the family at the house in Rehoboth and tells them, I want to go with you to go out and search for her. I mean, all right, I want to play. We're going to play right now. We're going to play the arraignment. Most of it. It is, there's nothing obscene. It's adult theme. I'm just giving people a warning. If it's not for you, then it's not for you. And there's no, like, that's totally fine. But don't tell us that we can't listen to the arraignment. Because, and I also want to credit the Massachusetts State Police. I said that. I had some people, someone sent me a mail. How dare you? What do you mean? They probably framed him. Like, these people are delusional. Oh, really? Oh, good. I was hoping. Oh, yeah, that's the Karen Reed crowd. Yeah, the Massachusetts State Police and the Rehoboth Police, they buried her and framed him. Yeah, that's the mindset you're talking about. These people. All right. Let me just play. This is the arraignment, and that's him. And I'll do some different pictures.
In the upcoming days, when Ms. Montero failed to update any of her social media accounts, the police began to continue in their investigation and ultimately brought Mr. Groom in for an interview. Mr. Groom reported that Ms. Montero was approximately 11 weeks pregnant, and she told him that he was the father of the baby. That on August 6th, she had left a residential program and took a ride share to his house. She was looking to stay with him, and an argument ensued about whether or not he would allow her to stay on his property. When the police began to question him and other family members, they learned from Ms. Montero's sister that on August 6th, when she had arrived at his house, that there was an altercation between Mr. Groom and Ms. Montero. Ms. Montero texted the sister that he threw me on the ground and pulled my hair and strangled.
I want to just jump in for a moment. The video they show is just of him. So I'm showing a picture of him. The audio here is clearer and it just plays more. There's nothing to see. So you're just going to be looking at him.
Strangled me. My phone is at 4%, and if I die, it was Greg. Family members then tried to communicate with Ms. Montero and get her to a place of safety and pulled.
That's really important. If anything happens to me, it's Greg. That we did not know. That we didn't know.
My hair and strangled me. My phone is at 4%, and if I die, it was Greg. Family members then tried to communicate with Ms. Montero and get her to a place of safety, and she didn't respond right away. Ultimately, there was a response from her device that indicated she was attempting to continue to stay at Mr. Groom's residence. There was a search that was conducted on August 14th of Mr. Groom's property at 107 County Street in Rehoboth, which is approximately a 25-acre property. That search involved members of the State Police CERT team, the Air Wing, divers, cadaver dogs, and nothing of significance was found during that search. However, based on the failure of Ms. Montero to contact any friends or family, the police continued their investigation. Ultimately, yesterday on August 19th, Mr. Groom reported to the Rehoboth Police Station for an interview. During that interview, he admitted that on August 6th, he had gotten into an altercation with Ms. Montero where he pushed her, she fell backwards, and she hit her head. When she attempted to contact an individual, Mr. Groom admitted that he knocked her cell phone out of her hand, at which time he was going to be charged with the 3 offenses for assault and battery on domestic assault and battery on a pregnant person, and for intimidation of a witness. When investigators continued to press Mr. Groom on the whereabouts of Ms. Montero, they informed him that they had applied for and were granted a search warrant for an extensive search of 107 County Street. That included not only cadaver dogs, but excavators, chemists from the Massachusetts State Police Crime Lab, and other investigators. And they informed Mr. Groom that they were prepared to search the property and dig if necessary. Mr. Groom then paused. He was given an opportunity to tell the police where Miss Montero's body was located, either by being taken to his property and pointing it out, or drawing a map, or telling the officers where her body was located, as they believed Miss Montero was dead.
So last night we were saying, people were saying, how come he's not at the scene? Well, as we said last night, he drew them a map. He did confess and drew them the map. It continues.
Mr. Groom ultimately drew a rudimentary map indicating that he got into an argument behind a shed on the property where he was known to stay and where Ms. Montero stayed. That during that altercation, Mr. Groom admitted that he stabbed Ms. Montero twice in the neck and once in the chest. The stab wound to the chest actually broke the blade of the knife off. He used a kitchen knife to commit the stabbing, and based on that stabbing, Ms. Montero was deceased. Mr. Groom indicated to police that he then spent several hours digging a hole in the woods, approximately 20 yards from where he killed Ms. Montero, and threw the knife after he dug. When the sun came up, he then pushed her body into the hole and covered it up. He drew on the map the approximate location of Ms. Montero's remains. Officers who were conducting the search warrant then went to the shed. They noticed there was a large pile of brush right next to the shed. That was what Mr. Groom used to cover up the site of the murder, to cover up blood that was ultimately recovered, and physical evidence was recovered from the scene where the police alleged the stabbing occurred. About 20 yards away in the woods, there was another large pile of brush with feet upon feet of trees, cut down trees that were piled up. Underneath that pile, the police located a rectangular hole that appeared that had been recently disturbed dirt. When the police ultimately called in medical examiners to uncover that hole, a body consistent with Kylee Montero was discovered approximately 5 feet underground. Ms. Montero's remains were recovered last evening, and her body is at the office of the chief medical examiner undergoing identification process and undergoing an autopsy. Based on this case, the defendant's confession and the prior domestic, the Commonwealth asked this court to hold the defendant without bail.
No argument, Your Honor. Trying to be held without bail.
And he was motionless, absolutely motionless, no emotion at all. There's a lot there. When they informed him that they had gotten a search warrant, that's Greg Groom, that they had gotten a search warrant, then suddenly that's when it just all started coming out. Now, that was yesterday. And as we had said, I mean, it's so gruesome, folks, and so terrible. And it does turn out, I should say, that these texts, I mean, he did send those texts pretending that he was her on the Thursday, because she was already deceased. I mean, it's very, very troubling. What's also, the thing about this, keep in mind also, this is someone, no criminal record. He's just, it's hard to fathom, isn't it? That'll be interesting. It is Massachusetts that we're talking about. So, but there's some different dynamics to this. And I do we're going to get into it, but that was, I want to once again also credit Massachusetts State Police. I mean, they absolutely had it, got it. And I know some people are saying it should have been done faster. I disagree with that. Folks, this portion of our program brought to you by, let's talk about something positive. Kids Club on the Pike. They're right off of 295. Birthday parties, before and after school programs. Their summer camp is wrapping up. They also do preschool, before and after school care, birthday party venue. Kids Club on the Pike, Plainfield Pike, right off of 295 on the Cranston-Johnson line. It's Kids Club on the Pike. And I also want to stay on schedule. Rehoboth police are just absolutely drained. They are. Rehoboth police, have not stopped. The Massachusetts State Police have not stopped. They worked round the clock on this story in order to hopefully come up with a better outcome. This portion of our program, folks, brought to you by ServPro. Don't forget, ServPro of Providence. Call them 401-941-5500. Fast, thorough, professional. When disaster strikes, you can depend on ServPro. Whether it's a fire or a flood or smoke damage, water damage, ServPro of Providence. 401-941-5500. There's a lot to take in with the arraignment. I want to play it again. Because there's so many details that go through. So let me and I know I'm just telling you, he shows no emotion during this entire thing. He's just standing there, and you can see how scrawny he is with the neck.
Last evening, the incident started on August 8th when this defendant, Gregory Groom, contacted the Rehoboth Police Department to indicate that his ex-girlfriend, identified as 18-year-old Kylee Montero, was missing. Mr. Groom reported that Miss Montero was at his house, that she was looking for a place to stay. They got into an argument, and that she ultimately left his residence walking down the driveway, and she hadn't been seen or heard from since.
He contacted the police that Friday. Now, I'm also told the witness intimidation was when he took the phone and knocked the phone away from her. But the big thing here, obviously, is the double murder. So, but it started with him calling the police. We will never know what would have happened had he not contacted the police. Because at some point, her family and friends might have contacted the police, but he contacted the police, and that kicked it into motion.
Montero was known to be very active on social media, and he hadn't heard from her, neither had her friends or family, on any social media in the following days. When Mr. Groom reported her missing, Rehoboth Police responded.
I want to just address, and John Leonard asked a question, what the motive was. It's interesting. I was mentioning earlier, hold on. I don't think that's a bad question, but I was mentioning earlier, I think it was John Leonard that sent me that. As I said, what stuck out to me was on that audio tape where they're arguing, where it's not that extreme. They're just arguing, and she's trying to say, I have nowhere to go. And he's basically trying to say to her, well, you can't stay here. But he says, as I've said, I want my life back. I want you out of here. I think again, we don't know exactly. I mean, there's no legitimate motive. So I want to caution people. It doesn't, but that is a good question. The motive, I would think it was the pregnancy. I would think it's the pregnancy. And I think it was dawning on him that not only was she high maintenance, not only was she difficult, but he was going to have to be dealing with her for the rest of his life once she gave birth to the child. So during the course of the investigation on this, we talked about Scott Peterson. We talked about there were people that feel like that's the end of my problem. I know of course it's twisted. Of course it doesn't make sense. But to answer the motive, I think that statement was very telling. I want my life back. He interpreted her as, you've taken my life from me. Obviously wrong. Consequences to action. He's the one that got involved with her. He's the one that had sexual relations with her. He's the one that got her in her condition of pregnant. So, but it's telling that was the way he saw it. I want my life back. You've taken my life from me. I don't want to deal with you anymore. Go away. And there she is, posting baby Groom, and the baby's coming, and the guy, I mean, he's not well-grounded to begin with. A hoarder who's 22, doesn't drive, and lives with the grandparents. He finally gets his first girlfriend, and he finally gets to say to his friends, he's no longer a virgin. Hi-fi, whoever would be hanging with him. But the problem now is she's not going away, and there's a baby on the way. So, all right, let's hear more of this.
Gone to the scene and took a report, and then began an investigation. In the upcoming days, when Ms. Montero failed to update any of her social media accounts, the police began to continue with their investigation and ultimately brought Mr. Groom in for an interview. Mr. Groom reported that Ms. Montero was approximately 11 weeks pregnant, and she told him that he was the father of the baby. That on August 6th, she had left a residential program and took a ride share to his house. She was looking to stay with him, and an argument ensued about whether or not he would allow her to stay on his property. When the police began to question him and other family members, they learned from Ms. Montero's sister that on August 6th, when she had arrived at his house, that there was an altercation between Mr. Groom and Ms. Montero. Ms. Montero texted his sister that he threw me on the ground and pulled my hair and strangled me. My phone is at 4%, and if I died, it was Greg. Family members then tried to communicate with Ms. Montero and get her to a place of safety, and she didn't respond right away. Ultimately, there was a response from her device that indicated she was attempting to continue to stay at Mr. Groom's residence. There was a search that was conducted on August 14th of Mr. Groom's property at 107 County Street in Rehoboth, which is approximately a 25-acre property. That search involved members of the state police CERT team, the air.
This is important because this is the first time they swept through the property. So this is really important. This was the 14th. Let's look at the calendar. So that was that Thursday. That was the Thursday. This is important. Listen to what they found and saw and observed. Massachusetts State Police with Rehoboth Police.
Wing, divers, cadaver dogs, and nothing of significance was found during that search. However, based on the failure of Ms. Montero to contact any friends or family, the police continued their investigation. Ultimately, yesterday on August 19th, Mr. Groom reported to the Rehoboth Police Station for an interview. During that interview, he admitted that on August 6th, he had gotten into an altercation with Ms. Montero where he pushed her, she fell backwards, and she hit her head. When she attempted to contact an individual, Mr. Groom admitted that he knocked her cell phone out of her hand, at which time he was going to be charged with the 3 offenses for assault and battery on domestic assault and battery on a pregnant person, and for intimidation of a witness. When investigators continued to press Mr. Groom on the whereabouts of Ms. Montero, they informed him that they had applied for and were granted a search warrant for an extensive search of 107 County Street. That included not only cadaver dogs, but excavators, chemists from the Massachusetts State Police Crime Lab, and other investigators. And they informed Mr. Groom that they were prepared to search the property and dig if necessary. Mr. Groom then paused. He was given an opportunity to tell the police where Ms. Montero's body was located, either by being taken to his property and pointing it out, or drawing a map, or telling the officers where her body was located, as they believed Ms. Montero was dead. Mr. Groom ultimately drew a rudimentary map indicating that he got into an argument behind a shed on the property where he was known to stay and where Ms. Montero stayed. That during that altercation, Mr. Groom admitted that he stabbed Ms. Montero twice in the neck and once in the chest. The stab wound to the chest actually broke the blade of the knife off. He used a kitchen knife to commit the stabbing, and based on that stabbing, Ms. Montero was deceased. Mr. Groom indicated to police that he then spent several hours digging a hole in the woods, approximately 20 yards from he killed Ms. Montero. And through the night after he dug, when the sun came up, he then pushed her body into the hole and covered it up. He drew on the map the approximate location of Ms. Montero's remains. Officers who were conducting the search warrant then went to the shed. They noticed there was a large pile of brush right next to the shed. That was what Mr. Groom used to cover up the site of the murder, to cover up blood that was ultimately recovered, and physical evidence was recovered from the scene where the police alleged the stabbing occurred. About 20 yards away in the woods, there was another large pile of brush with feet upon feet of trees, cut down trees that were piled up. Underneath that pile, the police located a rectangular hole that appeared that had been recently disturbed dirt. When the police ultimately called in medical examiners to uncover that hole, a body consistent with Kylee Montero was discovered approximately 5 feet underground. Ms. Montero's remains were recovered last evening, and her body is at the office of the chief medical examiner undergoing identification process and undergoing an autopsy. Based on this case, the defendant's confession and the prior domestic, the Commonwealth asked this court to hold the defendant without bail.
No argument, Your Honor. Trying to be held without bail.
And any date that is convenient for counsel for a probable cause hearing.
About 30 days out.
All right, it's going to be September 10th. It's going to be September 10th. Again, there's no, I'll say, even though I've said it, I'll say it again. There's no evidence the grandparents knew anything. Boy, that is a wild proceeding. And he is just standing there. Some of the comments, I think some of the comments, someone posted a comment. Well, a number of the comments. That's why I highlight some of them. But I think one of them was on the money. And I'm going to mention it in just a moment, but I do want to stay on schedule. And folks, this portion of our program is brought to you by J. Perry Paving. Remember, call them today, J. Perry Paving. Maybe, especially if you're a veteran, you can depend on J. Perry Paving. Give them a call. You know what a veteran would love? Getting their driveway paved. J. Perry Paving. Call them today. Free estimate, any project, J. Perry Paving, 401-732-1730, 401-732-1730, letter J. It's J. Perry Paving, free estimate. And if your dad is a veteran or your mom is a veteran, maybe your son or your grandmother, J. Perry Paving, 401-732-1730. What I'm about to say, I want people to understand that many times, you hear these stories. I want you to, I think the adults can understand this. I think so. I hope so. But many times we hear of celebrities that get a stalker, and wrong one. I'm sorry. The person, that's Kylee, they may not even know that the person has feelings for them the extent they do, is what I'm trying to say, right? You hear about a guy who's following Taylor Swift or someone like that. They don't know who it is and everything else. Well, at the same token, you look at the Scott Peterson case with Scott Peterson, Lacey Peterson. Remember, there was that Amber Fry. Now, she was just some young girl that met him at a party, and they started hooking up, and she's meeting up with him and so forth. Now, at the time, she apparently didn't know that he had Lacey Peterson, and he had a baby on the way. That basically he was making plans to just be with her. So someone put a comment, and I actually think it's accurate. There is another female in this equation, and she was someone who was friendly with Kylee and got to know Greg, and I'm pretty sure that something may have happened. Now, that's Greg and Kylee, but that something may have happened between him and the friend. Now, that doesn't mean, the friend was saying, hey, why don't you get rid of her and then you can be with me? But the statement of, I want my life back, And I saw someone posted a comment, and I think that that's accurate, that he could have, in his own little twisted mind, viewed it as, I don't want to have a child with this person. I now want to date, I'm so excited. I never had sex before. I had sex with her. Now I get what to do. And now I want to have sex with this new person. And it's very good possibility he did have sex with the friend. Now, again, he's 22, they're 18. In normal circumstances, that would just be a messy breakup. But what happens is, number one, she's pregnant. And then number two, he kills her. So that's where it goes off. I also saw someone post that that's why I think sometimes the chat can be very helpful, because right now we're live on YouTube and Facebook. And I think someone just put, I went to school with him. He was very shy and always bullied. And that can happen. It's not that he wanted his life back. He felt like he had maybe had a new life. This is where I say, like, the family and his family and his brother, and he has a mother and the grandparents. So, it starts with, again, some people don't understand it. If he was living in Boston or New York City or DC or Chicago and didn't have a car, but that's one thing. But you live like way out in the sticks in Rehoboth. He's 22, doesn't drive, and so he's meeting this very needy girl who's 18 years old, who is intellectually, kind of immature, or is immature, I should say, not kind of anything. And so this is so pathetic and sad, because it's as if suddenly he felt, now I have a life. I'm picking up chicks, and he goes with her friend. So the bullying thing, you can imagine how for years, and I was glad someone did put that, it all gets pent up. And these hoarders that live on 25 acres of 26 acres of land in Rehoboth don't seem like the type that would say, Greg, maybe you should talk to someone about these emotional outbursts that you're having. So he seems pretty limited, emotionally stunted. So still living like basically a 14-year-old boy who works at or 15, whatever, market, and the grandparents drive him to, again, I'm not placing, we haven't heard anything about the grandparents. I heard that night, that Wednesday night, they didn't even know she was there. And listen, it could be he goes out in the barn or his shed, whatever, hangs out with her, hangs out with friends, they smoke a little weed, maybe they drink a little bit, but so, I don't know these people. I don't know. And supposedly his room was like a hoarder. So maybe they are hoarders. I think that maybe they are they live in Rehoboth, but it sounds like they could live in Mississippi or Louisiana. Backwards, not exactly, a lot of land, but they don't look like there's no swimming pool there. That's for sure. Just him and the brother living like the whole thing is odd. But someone else put a good statement. He didn't just take her life. It's true. He didn't just take her life and the baby. He took his own life. He ruined the life of the brother. He ruined the life of his mother and grandparents. He has tragically damaged her family's life. So, no, this was like a total twisted, demented, evil act. Some of these definitive statements, I don't understand these people that there's no way, that's a lot of land. You don't know what these people are like. You don't know if they have air conditioning. You don't know if they go to bed early. You're not, there's no way the parents didn't hear the screaming. The parents don't even live there. The parents don't even live there. He lives with the grandparents. I don't think it's a puzzle anymore. I think it started to become very obvious. He's going to be the girlfriend. He's got a long road ahead. Listen, there's nothing good here. This is so, I don't know what to, like everyone else. It doesn't, we don't have stories like this a lot. It's so terrible. And you just feel awful for poor little Kylee, who at that moment, there was the flyer. We don't know. We don't know. But again, you're people that are saying so-and-so had to know and so-and-so had to know. Who knows what it was like a normal night or week was like? Maybe they were always making noises. Maybe there's always loud laughing or yet who knows? Maybe they set off. I don't know. I mean, to me, nothing about these people is normal. So yeah, I agree. Normal people would have heard something, but normal people wouldn't be driving a 22-year-old guy to his job at the market and having him with his 18-year-old girlfriend living there. I mean, nothing about these people seems normal. I feel terrible that little Kylee, who was going to go to welding school, that she met him and encountered him and was in desperate need. Kylee was looking for a life. On this, she's talking about, I want to be a housewife. I want to have a child to be a housewife at 18. She's trying to find her way. She doesn't even have a place to stay. I don't know why she didn't stay with the aunt. I don't know. Was it a fight? Did the aunt throw her out? She's staying at a homeless shelter. She's got an aunt in Attleboro. I don't know. I don't know why. Now in hindsight, everyone's like, well, she should have been staying with the sister who lives in Providence. You can all say all that afterwards, but you also have someone, if someone's 18 and they're saying, no, I don't want to stay with Auntie. I want to stay with, Greg. It's not an easy situation for the family. It's not, because you don't think anyone's going to do anything like this, right? It's one thing if he's a deadbeat and he said, I don't want to support this child. Why don't we give it up for adopt? Whatever. But you don't think this. You don't think this is going to happen. Certainly not. We didn't even read that. Behind the shed, he stabs her twice in the neck and then into the body. Into the neck. It's too, I find the story we're hearing about this very unrelatable. Very unrelatable. It doesn't compute. Just then break up with her, right? As Lacey Peterson's mother said, divorce was an option. You met Amber Fry, Scott Peterson. You want to be with her. Then divorce Lacey Peterson. She can move home. We'll raise the baby. Divorce is an option. Killing her, throwing her in San Francisco Bay is not an option, or whatever, wherever it was. Folks, this portion of our program brought to you by Watson Materials, largest selection of landscape materials in Rhode Island. Call them 401-885-0600, 401-885-0600. Call Sean at Watson Materials. Request a quote. The most complete selection of landscape materials in Rhode Island is Watson Materials. Landscape lighting, pavers, retaining walls, natural stone, cobblestone, decorative stone. Watson Materials, 401-885-0600. I like to deal in reality. I like to deal in, let's not everyone does. Let's deal in reality. There's not going to be a death penalty. This is Massachusetts. So anyone that says that, that's one thing. They don't want to see him taken out. He will, I would imagine, again, who knows? You would imagine he would be on suicide watch. You would think that. But this is someone, it's tough to get a handle on this guy, on Greg Groom. It's tough to get a handle on a guy who her family gave him the ride to the police station. He called the police that Friday. By the way, I want to clear it up, just the timeline. And I think people know this, but I'll repeat it. The fateful night was August 6th, the Wednesday night. She was killed. On the 7th, she's alive. Strike that. On the 7th, she's dead. It's also interesting. They mentioned he dug a hole, put some brush over her, and left her out there. And then the next day went back and then finished. So, but on the 7th, he was sending text messages, at least a couple, from her phone to give the impression to people that she was still alive. Where's her phone? I have not heard that. The next morning, I think they have a mutual friend. I think she's the one that convinced him to call the police. So he told police that on Thursday night, the 7th, at 7:00, she walked out of his driveway and went right. That was his story. Wasn't a good story, but that was his story. It makes no sense because then Friday morning he calls the police and says, hey, this girl I'm dating on and off, I haven't heard from her and I'm worried. Again, no one said he was, sharpest tool in the shed. So that Friday, they phoned it in. And then the following last week, Monday, Tuesday, was when Rehoboth police put out the missing person. And then we jumped on this last Tuesday night, the 12th. I was out there on the 13th and the 14th. That's why you see the video of the searches. And then we started our coverage each night over the course of the several nights. So that's where it comes out. No one is accusing these people. The fact, did the grandparents even know he was going to the police station? I mean, we can't get into, see, you and I, people that are listening and watching, you, of course it doesn't make sense, but you're trying to think of it as a logical person. These people obviously clearly don't think in those terms. So, yes, that's right. She did. Yep. Well, I played it earlier. See, we have late arrivals. I played it just a short time ago. So, yes. So, and it's gruesome. It is. Terrible. Yep. Some of this stuff when I heard the fight started outside, I don't know. At this point, I don't know where this is going to go. The mystery is solved. Everyone is still reeling from this whole thing, understandably so. It's, listen, the whole thing is so terrible of how this played out. But again, for those of you, and I want to thank all of you that watched our coverage last week. We started getting together. We did it Wednesday night, and we did it Thursday night, and then we did it Friday night, and we did it Saturday night, and we did it Sunday night, and we did it Monday night. And as we had talked about, it just, to me, it never seemed to make sense that to me, right out of the box, his options were limited. And some people also misconstrued when we had talked about her size. She, hate to use past tense, but she was a big girl. And there was another statement he made, like I said, that he mocked the search of the reservoir behind. If you go all the way through his property, you then see where the reservoir is. And he actually mocked it by saying, as if I'm dragging her, meaning she's heavy, through 26 acres. So in a sense, even he was mocking that his options to get rid of her were very limited, as gruesome as that sounds, and it does. Listen, and I feel for Kitty, who we've spoken to now several times. I feel for Faith. They are, as you can imagine, reeling from this. And yeah, he mocked it. There's the reservoir, and there's the red button. I have a map up where you can see that's County Street. That's where he lives. And then look at all that brush. And so it's right to the right of that where that this whole thing had, where that had gone in that manner. So, but you can see, so he was as if to say, you know, you think I'm lugging her through 26 acres? It's terrible. You know, so far there's no evidence of that. I agree he had help. You can see, this is where the conspiracy people come in. All I can tell you is, and you can run with that. Yes. She wasn't a student. There isn't a student, but all right. Folks, if you're listening to the radio, stay tuned for the 2:00 news. Everybody else, we'll be back tonight. I want to thank everyone for all your support, coverage. Thank you to our mods. So we'll have more details. We'll see. We'll have more. But again, this terrible news like everyone else. I wish we had better news on this Wednesday. So thank you, Ron Marshall. And we'll be back later tonight.